Okay, so if you recall in section 3.5, we learned how to graph transformation functions by using transformations. So let's do the same thing here. We have one that starts with transformations of x to the fourth, and one that starts with transformations on x to the fifth. So let's write down all the transformations we have and then graph them. So let's look at this first one. We have a negative, we have a 2, and we have a plus 1 inside with the x. And sorry, I don't like that pink. I'm going to change the color. So how should we do these? Remember, we follow the order of operations, so we work in parentheses first. That means we should deal with the plus 1. The plus 1 is a horizontal shift left 1. Remember, they're always opposite. The second thing we should do, following the order of operations, is work on the 2. So since that 2 is multiplied, but it's outside the parentheses, that is a vertical stretch by a factor of 2. And the last thing we should do is that negative, which is a reflection across the x-axis. So let's put our basic x to the fourth points on the graph down here. So we have, if we were doing x to the fourth, we would have 0, 0, 1, 1, and negative 1, 1. Then when we get to 2, we'd be at 16. So let's just do these 3 points, and then we can get a basic approximation of our graph. So we said the first thing we do is we take a point and we shift it left. Then we stretch it vertically by 2, which means we multiply its y value by 2. So our current y value is 1. If we multiply 1 by 2, we get to positive 2. And then the negative is a flip it across the x-axis. So it goes to negative 2. The 0, 0, we move it left 1. The y value is still 0, so 0 multiplied by 2 is 0. And then when we reflect across the x-axis, it doesn't move because it's on the x-axis. Then our third point, we move it left 1. So it's at 0, 2 now. We multiply 0, 1, sorry. We multiply the y value by 2. That means it gets to 0, 2. And then we flip it over so it is at 0, negative 2. So here's an approximation of negative 2x plus 1 to the fourth. Okay, let's go back up and let's do our second part, of the second problem. So this time we have a 1/2, we have a -2, and we have a +1. Those are our transformations. So following the order of operations again, we should do inside the parentheses first, then the multiplication, and last we add that number outside. So the -2 inside is a horizontal shift right 2. The 1/2 is a vertical compression by a factor of 2. We know it's a factor of 2 because it's always 1 over the number when the number's a fraction. And so that gives us a 2. And the green, that +1, that is a vertical shift up 1. So if we start with our 3 basic points for an x to the 5th, we would have -1, -1, 0, 1, and 1, 1. So let's move those points following the transformations. We shift horizontally 2, 1, 2 to the positive direction. Then we cut the y value in half. So our y value is currently -1. If we cut it in half, we're at -1/2. And then we add 1. So that puts it at +1/2. The 0, we move it right to, multiply the y value by 1/2. The y value is 0, so when we multiply it by 1/2, we still have 0. And then we add 1. When we do our 1, 1 point, we move it 2 to the right. Now we're at 3, 1. Our y value is 1. We multiply that by 1/2. We're at 1/2 now. And then we move it up 1, so we're at 1.5. Then we know that all of our x to the 5ths look like that. So we can just draw our Superman-ish looking curve. It's -2 to the 5th plus 1. So that's all there is to it for graphing those transformations. We will pick up on the next page in the next video.